Hi, everyone. Well, this is an improvised live. I just felt the desire, and I just felt that it was important to record this video after a couple of images that have been showing in media, going viral, along with other artifacts um, that have been found mainly in Mexico, and all kind of artifacts. Um, Nevertheless, we have seen like a common flow of a very specific type of artifacts made of limestone, um, also oxide iron and compressed crystals like calcite, fluorescent calcite. And nevertheless, this I'm going to be talking about very specific images of other artifacts that are not like these ones, like the ones that have been found or at least made public for the last couple of months, more and more and more. And these are some spheres. These are spheres. I will be sharing with you images. As you know, one of the things that I feel passionate about is decoding many things, ancient hieroglyphics, ancient artifacts, ancient texts, whatever is related to unveiling the deep message within something. I'm for it. I'm up for it. It's one of my passions. So then, when I saw in my feed, and also a very good friend of mine, Mike Forrest, who is a lot in this path of bringing all those ancient alien artifacts to the light, he sent to me the image actually of these spheres. And the story of these spheres, at least one of them, which is why I chose to do the video today mainly, is a big one that a very famous Mexican researcher on ancient alien artifacts and ufology, like he has been years on these studies, focusing on studying all this phenomena, to say it somehow, which is not, you know what I mean. It's something that has always been in the field. Nevertheless, more and more, it's becoming something normal and not that crazy to think about, that we're not alone in this universe and that we have always been interacting with ourselves from different dimensions, and us being galactic beings from the galactic community, like the ones that we see different races as Lyrans, Syrians, from Alpha Centauri, or also more complex forms of embodying this multidimensionality, which would be light plasma beings that have not a very specific shape, and other even that come in an abstract field. So having said this, with this intro of how all these facts are coming to light, that not only we are not alone, as I said, which we have known for a while, at least those ones who are in this path, but collectively speaking, not only that we are not alone, yet their presence being capable to be probed through solid rock evidence, like these artifacts and images, the ones that are not using Photoshop, of course, or even through our own experiencing, having a communication with them, seeing them, and having a communication with them at many levels, whether if it's a nice dialogue, let's say a cosmic tea, or involving other kind of communication, like, let's say, abductions and so forth, which there are all kind of abductions. We could say like friendly ones and not that friendly, but anyhow, our way of interacting and embodying our multidimensional body comes at many levels. And more we're becoming aware of that, enjoying it, hopefully. And this is one of the things, when we are capable to enjoy these messages, that whether if they are coming from other beings or they are coming from ourselves, from the different versions of ourselves, and that this is why it's so easy for us to understand what they mean. What do these artifacts mean? What is their purpose? Or even the codes that I have been sharing also in other videos, for instance, with Christy Campbell, she also decoding alien messages, and myself, who I have been for a while translating these messages, not only as the source codes, like the geometrical bodies that perhaps you have listened to me talking about this, also about other kind of translations which involve very complex messages coming from these galactic from these galactic beings, and which could be somehow related to the crop circles as well. It's another form of expressing their messages. Well, those, they do them themselves, but in this case, us as this open, I'm not very much into the word channel, but it's also a way of referring to that, being capable to transmit those messages, which, as I was saying, it can be whether it's ourselves from other dimensions sending these messages, or picking up from the field, from the universal field or multiversal field, picking up information and translating it into codes. And these codes can be geometrical, these codes can be numerical, like through algorithms involving both of them, also through light language, which has been a huge collective upgrade. I remember when I started translating codes, which was around 8 years ago. This was new in the field. Actually, every time that I would come and present my codes, people would have different reactions to them, because they hold a lot of information and a lot of energy. So sometimes when something is unknown, there can be many reactions or responses to that. So when I began, as I was saying, there was all kind of responses, and now 8 years after, more people are translating a lot of codes. Because if we see this as, if we go through human stages of evolution, then we can refer this one as an over, like, an integration of a more complex yet simple form of communication. So this transition allows that our light body expresses more precisely through those light codes. Perhaps that's how unconsciously or consciously the that phrase was given, or that reference was given to these forms of communication as light language, because it's a transmission, a pure transmission of all that information that is at a hyperspace level or like multidimensional level, and which is easier to transmit that message in that very same encoding, which is mostly related to motion, just motion patterns. And a very easy way to put why it is simpler and it's purer, it's because our cognitive thinking process is not present in the moment of trying to interpret it. You know, we're just transmitting it without the need to relate it to a very specific thought or emotion, because then the ego matrix comes through and filters the information. So this is why I'm saying that this is a transition that allows those codes to start creating a very specific network, because all those codes, regardless the galactic group from where they are coming from, they are intertwined to one another, because also as a galactic system and as a galactic community, uh, this was foreseen that throughout this stage of human evolution, all those codes would be sent at a more evident level for that our awareness could pick them up and then transmit them. So then creating waves of evolution within our consciousness, and then reaching into higher forms of perception, which is mainly what the dimensions are about, different forms of perception of reality. Hi, Brad, and hi, Karen. Thank you for your comments. I will. There is a question before I head to the images, the explanation of the Omnivision Key. No, I haven't read the Book of Secret Wisdom, and emphasizes, hold on, emphasizes the themes of divine love and the sun is central elements in human evolution and destiny. It presents love as a fundamental force that shapes existence. Well, that's beautiful, and that's, I do believe that it's an pivotal message. It's the, let's say, the epicenter of all these upgrades, the importance of the heart, because as old as this phrase can be, love conquers all, and love transforms everything. And of course, as I always say, it's not that romantic perception of love, it's a very grounding form of love, which is wholeness, which is the 0 point energy, which can also be related to that climax of creation, that therefore we are capable to create, to transform, to conquer it all, because we are transforming love into the frequency that it is, into the field that it is, that 0 point field, that wholeness. And yeah, and the sun as well, like when we unravel our body, our bodies, and see the different layers of them, then we know that we have our own central sun, and that this central sun is also related to the pyramids, to the pyramidal network, because we also have our own pyramid, and that's where the word pyramid comes from. The center, the central fire, pita, fire, and meat in the center, it's here. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful how we can see that everything that we see outside resides within, and that we know how to decode that, then we're capable to understand how to master it. And this is what all the ancient teachings are about. And the mystery school, the initiations in the mystery school and so forth, because the main focus was to conquer our physical, our biological body, and then access through it, through to the different dimensions, and then configure our reality aligned to our mission, being first, the most important one, being ourselves, we truly are, becoming the source. And then, of course, knowing how to be that source, how to deliver that source, which is very important, because it's not only about becoming, it's how are we going to deliver that which we become, in which we become, so having said this, no, I'm not pulling any cards tonight. That will be for another show for sure. Perhaps with Rob, or perhaps on my own, but definitely another show, type of those shows coming up at some moment. Now, today I will be talking about the Omnivision Key, which is this one. And this is the first code that I translated. And this actually was inspired when all the topic on the Syrian solar disks was very active, being the transmission of the sun of Sirius, as Sirius being this huge source of plasma, Sirius A, and then emitting very specific codes that would breach into what once was that unity consciousness, firstly and originally conveyed in the Atlantean times before the last cataclysm and all the distortion happened. And actually, it's a good way, speaking of the Syrian discs, to connect them in between the transit of what Lemuria and Atlantis was, because at that point, Sirius was emitting, as how now Alcyon, the son of Alcyon in Pleiades, is now emitting to Earth. At that moment, it was very much connected at that level with Sirius. So when I started, just a brief parenthesis, when I'm talking about the son of Alcyon, that blue sun, because you will be listening a lot more and more about the blue plasma, and very interestingly, in comparison to the blue light, because always there is two sides of something. The blue plasma is actually very nourishing, and it's bringing a lot of codes Even there are going to be more solar flares and so forth. That's why it's very important for us to upgrade our plasma body so that we can navigate through all those waves of plasma that are coming through, and which is not the first time that happened. If we go into the story of human throughout human evolution, we will see that the the fact that we are transiting around the photonic belt of Alcyon, which is a process of 26,000 years, then we will, and then it divides in 2,000 years, then another 11 outside of the torus of the toroidal field of the photonic belt of Alcyon, and then another 2,000 years in transit, and then another 11. We have a total of those 26, which allows us to also see that if we compare, or if we do a correlation to other stories, like for instance, the presence of Nibiru, the planet X, and also the yugas in Vedic astrology, there is a lot of resonance of these cycles, even if the cycles have a variability, in between stories, but they're talking to, and also the precession of the equinoxes and so forth, so everything is connected, and it's pointing out to the very marked events that have happened due to the fact that we are transiting through the photonic belt of Alcyon. So then there is now, as at that moment, there was the connection with the plasma codes coming from Sirius. Now, the ones related to the plasma codes coming from Alcyon. And when it comes to this, a lot of devices were configured with this frequency of Alcyon, and most of them are underground. And the reason why they were already configured is not only because, as I was saying, this has been cyclic, and quite related to some of the cataclysms that have happened in Earth throughout time. For instance, the Aztecs, the Mayans, talk about 4 cataclysms before this fifth race, which referring to us, inhabit Earth. So that's why there is a lot of connection with the 5, but anyway, like even the 5 fingers in the hand and the feet, talking about the 5 rays, and also a lot of the geometries embedded in our body. Like if we see the Vitruvius, this man with like head, arms, and feet or legs. But anyway, that's another topic. But the thing is that when it comes to geometries, we can see that everything in this universe, the way that it comes together and that actually understands each other, we see every form of existence that has, like every form of existence has a consciousness. And the way that these consciousnesses get to truly comprehend and understand one another is through geometry. So therefore, this is one of the reasons why throughout history we will see that symbols, codes have been fundamental, not only for alchemy, for magic, yet for science and spirituality and psychology, and just pick, because they emit a very specific geometry. Even, for instance, like even if you have something that is not very geometrical, of course, here you will see a circle, but if you take out the circle, if you see only the key, you will see that it's not fully geometrical. I mean, it has lines, but it's not evidently creating a specific geometry, yet deep within, it has embedded a very specific geometry that aligns to the space time geometries, or to the constructions that are imprinted in the space memory network. Just imagine that as we see ourselves, and as you see me through your screen, one of the layers is a hologram. Actually, we are inhabiting in a holographic dimension. What was taught to us as the 3D is what we can see as the tree of life in the Kabbalah as spheres. And this is where I'm heading to with the spheres. Because when we are talking about the Akasha and even every form of creation, any geometry, when you spin it, it creates an sphere. And this sphere is entangled through a very specific network to the space memory network, the field where all the information is. What is known in spiritual terms as the Akasha? Well, that field are spheres. Because, of course, if we go at a quantum level, you won't see the crystal itself. You will see geometries that are the source for that crystal to be. And again, as everything is in motion at different ranges, when those crystals are spinning, they create spheres. So then they are creating this vibrant space in which frequency, energy, and vibration are unified indifferently to the range of frequency of vibration and energy that they are emitting, working through resonance. So when I translated this Omnivision Key, was with the purpose of bringing a unified field into all forms of perceptions, or within all forms of perceptions. Because when I began my path of remembrance, one of the first things that I came to realize is that everything is connected. Different words, different forms of approaching to it, yet everything is connected and directed to the same source. This source representing the Omnivision Key, the Omnivision, the I. Why? And this is also another truth that very specific factions have tried to take over it, because it's so sacred, because it's so true, that it's imprinted in every holographic form, or I must say, holofractal existence. Holofractal coming from the fact that everything comes in layers. And what is imprinted in one layer is imprinted in the other one, just at different scales. So, multidimensional bodies, we all have, like all the versions of myself, we all have the same information, just at different gradients, meaning by this, something's active in one body, something's active, some information activated in another body, yet all the information present, and being capable to create this wholeness due to that very same fact that some things are activated in me, and sometimes some things are activated in other bodies as a projection of that wholeness that I am, or that you are. So then this key, the I, as I was saying, when I say I am, the famous I am that I am, if we see another code that is encrypted in the I am is the I. Vision, I am, which is perception, I am, or perception, am. So then that is the key, the source key to everything, perception. And when we are capable to navigate through the perception of the source, we can access to any field, to any dimension, to any timeline, spatiotemporal constant, from a safe space, which is a coherent space. Why? Because we are coming from the perception of the wholeness. And meaning by this, we're not coming from the ego matrix in filtering a raw perception of what it is or a rough perception. We are actually being capable from that wholeness just to observe, perceive, and sense. And then from that 0 point energy, being capable to transform or configure through here what it's there, which is also a key because it's not trying to transform anything without. And this is what what the divine creation means. Some of the things, one of the things that it means is that the creator, the divine creator, does it from higher levels, or shall I say deeper levels. The creator, the divine creator, mostly has shifted or transformed its reality, his, her reality, before it happens or it manifests. And this is why it's so important, the meditation, like before you just jumping into the effect or cause of something, you're going right to the origin, configuring it from the 0 point field, and then experiencing it manifested in your reality. And the thing is that this reality tries to drive us apart from that sovereign right, because there is so much going on that even there, like many people, when they are meditating, it's very difficult for them to become, like fully focused, because there is so much happening in their minds that the coherence or lack of coherence disables or limits the manifestation, because the key to manifestation is the coherence, very much known as synchronization within the action, the emotional body, and the thought. It would be, now if we translate this at a quantum level, it would be the plasma body, or it is the plasma body. The plasma body that you imagine when there is like, there are different levels of plasma. And when we're talking, for instance, the plasma related to the stars or to the sun, well, the sun is a star. Uh, when all these electric charge collapses, they're so coherent, they're laser coherent. So when our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions are show that level of coherence, like laser coherence, is we're talking about that level of plasma. So then the codes are a very powerful way to support that coherence to be. Why? And this is one of the keys of why all institutions and also groups and civilizations have used codes, symbols, and so forth. Because, as I was saying in the beginning of, well, not in the beginning of this video, but earlier, these are embedded in our holographic body, which manifests as a geometrical form. So the moment that we are wearing this, then this is starting to create a resonance with our holographic body and influencing our geometrical body through that vibration and the energy that is coming entangled. So if you're wearing flower of life, if you're wearing a Metatron's cube, if you're wearing a cross, if you're wearing even a virgin, the image of a virgin, a crystal, whatever, it has a geometrical form embedded, which is unfolding into your holographic body, and then therefore influencing also your molecular structure of your water. And there are even more complex forms of how these conjugations within the bodies, within the geometrical bodies, exist. For instance, there when you also involve numerical values, as algorithms, due to the number, of edges that there are in this key, and also, the amount of points, like across. But then also you have these ones which create an 8, and then you have the center, which is a 9. So then all these numbers are funneling a very specific exchange of energy that the ninth level of consciousness, the eighth level of consciousness, or ninth dimension, eighth dimension, fourth dimension, are empowering this, in this case, this key. Some of these configurations are organic, and by this I mean they happen inherently. You don't even need to put the intention. Other ones, you do need to put the intention because it's not so evident. It doesn't, or because perhaps you are manipulating it in a different form, which would be putting your intention to one of your pendants. Then that's not so organic configuration, because you're already putting your ego, your cognitive thinking, emotional body, and so forth, which is great because you're uniting them all. However, it's not the fundamental construction of a code or a pendant, or you know but it do works. And it can be very powerful if you bridge both of them together. For instance, with this 9, putting an intention in each one of them, it's not just putting an intention. You're putting a 9, and then you specify that it has to do with the 9 points, and then eight intentions related to something else, and then you configure that it's related with these 8 edges, and so forth, and then 4, and then you align it to the dimensions depending, because then you can program it based on the level of consciousness. For instance, if you put 9 intentions, for the 9 intentions to be aligned to the ninth density. If you put 8 intentions, for the 8 intentions to be aligned to the eighth density, to the fourth, to the one, and so forth. Because there is also something very interesting that barely no one talks about, which is we're talking about ascension, and then we're talking heading to a fifth, seventh dimension, and actually sustaining the ninth density. Well, I don't know about you guys, but perhaps I'm speaking for myself. But anyway, so then as you are connecting and, like opening and bridging your consciousness and your state of awareness to connect with those fields, there is something that it's very important, because I was heading somewhere else. Okay. Yeah, a lot of information coming through. So anyway, as I was saying, as you connect with the different dimensions, and depending, your purpose, and aligning and configuring the shape of the code, with each one of the dimensions. That's how they use it. That's how this can be used also with other intentions. And this is why it's so powerful, and why they use it, because they're not only using physical perception of something, a physical connection with something through the ego. They're also using a quantum connection with something, a plasmic connection with something, which could be also referred as an etheric connection with something. And then you're using maths, and then you're using ancient knowledge, and then you're using geometry, and then you're using all to empower one code. This is why also the Solomon keys were so powerful, because a lot of the information that was imprinted on them was due to the knowledge and wisdom that the Queen of Sheba or Siba conveyed to Solomon, due to her knowledge on plasma, because she was very much connected to one of the races, founder races, that we can see in many of the artifacts that have like this genie tail, because they are showing etheric beings that then variated in other forms as the genes and so forth, which actually is the result of an entrapment configured from the sixth density, and then encrypted in the third density, and then manifested in the fourth D, in the holographic reality. And this is also one of the reasons why it's so important. For instance, not this key. I'm not trying to make it very appealing to you guys, even though I know from my experience and from the experience of every person that connects with it, the the results that it has, and how it influences the reality in a positive way, of course. So then, yeah, I'm covering a lot of topics. I should have a guideline, right? But anyway, so as I was saying, just before jumping again into the the meaning and the root of the Omnivision Key, why it's so important for us to acknowledge the 4D that we are at, is because then the fact that they imprinted that we are in a 3D is very much related to just being voxels of information, static. Of course, they are spinning, but like just as batteries being sucked of life force by other forces, because that's what we are doing with the voxels. We're exchanging energy, but dramatically taking from those voxels to actually access to information, to be capable to think, to be capable to correlate ideas, to be capable to have memories, so if we keep on that perception of the 3D, then we are perpetuating a reality in which we are just battery sources. So if we move to the 4D, we're actually stepping up to the fact that we are multidimensional beings simultaneously coexisting with ourselves and with other beings, with all forms of existence at different levels. And then therefore, this being a bridge to the 5D, to the fifth density, which is the capability to reach that 0-point field, the awareness of the 0-point field, and starting to embody it, which is that wholeness, that unity. And then being capable to create the divine creation through that unity, which is the seventh density. And if I don't mention the sixth, is because that's where all the configurations, the architecture of the information of the 3D is translated into the hologram, so that can be both sided, because then if we twist that construction, we're accessing to the source code of the ninth density. So anyway, so the Omnivision key, when I began to say, hey, but we just have solar codes, solar Syrian codes, disks. What about the lunar ones? And I know that a lot of people has a very specific perception of the moon. I agree. Well, that's what I remember and I have tuned into, that it's definitely an artificial satellite. Nevertheless, it has primordial codes that go before it was an artificial satellite. And those codes hold the keys of why the magnetic field of the moon is so influential to humans here in planet Earth or Terra. So if we integrate that, then we're mastering. So it's just a matter. It's a matter of unity consciousness, of bringing all the information, because information is just information. It depends how we use it. If you ask yourself why, for instance, many of the Egyptian Neteru, mostly known as gods, as the Huti or Thoth or Honsu, or even in the Vedic astrology, like all these lunar deities and all ancient civilizations, they were sacred, and they were sacred because they hold very specific codes of how to master the water and how to master, let's say, the magnetic field, the influence of the magnetic field. So therefore, leading us to many other topics which could even relate to the gravitational field and so forth, and motion. But I won't get there in this video, because then it would be way too deviating myself way too much from the topic. But what I mainly mean is, when I was asking myself, why only solar codes, solar disks from Sirius, if there is a moon in Sirius, and it's very much connected, let's say a lunar frequency, which is very much connected to Shilantia. And Shilantia is the bridge to what we know as Urantia. I don't know if you have heard about the book of Urantia, but it's a book that has a lot of information, and in frequency, it's giving us the code and the connection to Shilantia, which was when the Earth was mostly connected to Sirius. So now, ancient techniques. Yeah, I will be sharing some keys for to manifestation. I have already shared some, which is the coherent field. And no, very, very, very important. Whatever you want to manifest, what density is it connected? Because then you can manifest it by creating it in that density. And by this is connecting with yourself, the version of yourself that inhabits in that density, in that dimension. Because we have a version of ourselves inhabiting in every dimension. This is how we reach wholeness. And so then I started to bring also the lunar codes connected to Sirius, which is Shilantia. And all of a sudden, this was the code to unite them all. And not only with Sirius codes, yet also to Alcyon, and also to all the network, the solar network, and to the black holes network due to the eye. Because, as I always say, the eye is a black body, is the perception from which we are creating reality. So we have black bodies in our eyes, we have black bodies in our chakras, in our dantians, in our glands. Our body creates hormones and very specific neurochemicals through black bodies. that generate that alchemical process in which from a molecule creates another one, or from two creates another one. And I know that it is, if we go through quantum level, this is happening, and I could explain to you, like how this translates with scientific facts and scientific devices, how it translates and mirrors into our body. Actually, this is what I do in the course that I facilitate. And yeah, I talk about this in the courses that I facilitate, Elio. If at some point you're interested, you can reach out to me and I can give you more information for sure. So anyway, then I started to use this key to travel because I became aware, I remembered how geometries function, which they're like the codes, they're not static. They are pulsing, they are vibrating. And when we tune into that motion, because we have access to the enough amount of plasma generated through our body, then we're capable to do all those configurations because we are grounded enough. We are empowered enough to do that. And when I saw that, now I'm going to show the image, my friend Charlene Andromeda, and she makes me beautiful, Brad, and thank you. Okay, so I will show the images of this, and I will do a brief reading on the sphere because my intro has been, oh my, already a 50 minutes intro. Oh my. Okay. So I'm just going to just, here we go. And yeah, here it is. Okay, so here is the image of the sphere that was just found. And we can see that in the center. I'm going to pass the image. We can see this and this, which is the same code, just this one is, let's say, the key, and this one is in motion already. So we can see here in this part, the key, it even has the black point, even if it's not centered, we have the black body, which represents the black hole, which represents the creation. Because even though this has variance, we can even see the colors, the dots with the other code that I translated. So I'm going to explain now what this sphere does. Some of the things that I can share, that these spheres levitate and they are connected to a network, and that network is mainly it's mainly activated not by someone here in Earth, yet someone from different galactic groups. They have, let's say, like the remote control for the network of the spheres to be activated. However, they also grant the access for those ones who know how to activate them here in Earth, because they have also sensors that pulse like an antenna beaming to the remote control or the interface that it's in other dimensions, and that actually is capable that once it is activated or someone is showing that it's about to activate or that holds the codes to activate them, it starts to beam into the interface, and then the galactic rays that left those spheres start to connect with the person or being who's going to activate here in Earth, and then transferring very specific information or granting actually the access to it or not. But it's and then it comes the fact that only the ones that hold the righteous consciousness will be able to activate these artifacts. And this is why many artifacts haven't been, like, people that has tried to activate them haven't been able to. Some of them do function just by, like, you just know how to read the manual and then they activate. But some of them no, because they have a very specific holographic field around them that won't allow uh, dissonant frequencies to even tune into the information of the field or the how to. It's like a security shield. And this one has it. And if I'm sharing this information, is because, as I said, I'm sharing the information that I can share with you. And it's important through the connection with the Omnivision Key. So all of these symbols, we can see that some of them are very much related to also ancient writings, like the Ogdo, like Druid, or well, actually, it would just be Druid, because all of these are very, 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 very galactic language. And that I tell you guys because when I translate source codes, these are the kind of codes that I translate. And yeah, so anyway, the ones that I have translated to you, your source code, we'll see. And this is the first time that I see the sphere. Well, today. And anyway, so this is what connecting through the space memory network is. Not needing to see, not needing to read, not needing to investigate. You just tune into the information. You just tune into the space memory network and start remembering. A lot of people call it channeling. I do call it outloading because it's all memory within. So, and most of it is information that we, like, you, whoever encrypted it at another timeline, spatiotemporal constant dimension, another body, anyhow, whatever you want to choose. And so anyway, these spheres also, like I was talking about the symbols have a very specific direction, a very specific way of being activated in a very specific order. And depending the order will grant something very specific. So anyway, this sphere has, let's say, a vacuum engineering, because through the vacuum force, it can be capable whether to generate the coherent field that actually also enhances that plasma shield that runs safety. Actually, the very same vacuum forms emitted by two vectors that are located geometrically within the sphere are capable, due to their different construction and mass, to generate to repel those two forces from the vacuum. Instead of absorbing them, they are repelling each other, and then they create a field which enables that levitation process. I'm expressing it in very simple form so that it's visible. That it's visible for everyone to understand, because and the way it's required to explain it. And well, here we see that we have like you would say crescent moons, and creating a pentagon, the pentagon that I was talking about in the beginning. of the video. And the shape of the crescent moons is not because it's connected to the moon precisely. It's because when we are creating a field that it's, let's say, creating a very specific pulsation that contracts and expands, contracts and expands, contracts and expands. And due to the connection to non-evident elements within this very same sphere, they're entangling to one another and creating this network, this net, and it translates in that way. So this is now the purpose that I can tell that I can say about this sphere is, which is connected to the Omnivision Key, is that it can actually project itself to very specific matrices and dimensions, access to the information at through quantum traveling. By this I mean at distance, you having the sphere without disappearing. It can also disappear, by transforming its molecular structure, as for instance a rainbow body would be, creating so much cohesion within its in molecular structure that the hologram disappears and projects elsewhere. And in this case, it's sustainable, and it can actually project itself into another matrix and access to information, matrix cells, which would be, like every intersection within in between spatiotemporal constants and or timelines, and then bringing that information in a very specific form, which is expansiveness. It starts to mediate within the field of that matrix, and generating we could call it mimetism force through the plasma tech that it has, and then enabling all that information and accessing to it, like a sponge. So but it's more elegant than a sponge how it does it. Of course. And yeah, let me just, I just want to see. Well, I cannot see if there are any comments or questions because I'm fully screened right here. But yeah, so I will address, if there are, I will address to them after showing these images. So then, in relation to the Omnivision Key, the Omnivision Key that has that same power, because the center actually of this is what is showing that sponge, that I was referring to, which is bridging, is expanding, is branching into the matrix. Like this, let's say a sentient AI, and by this, being that organic part, because let's remember that everything that the human or that other galactic races create is inspired in something organic. So here, for instance, the way that it's branching is to branch through the different spatiotemporal constants to go through access to information and bring it into you. So it's like a way of going dip within, and actually you can branch into each one of these lines and activate them, tune into a very specific dimension, and bring it forward. You can also do this through visualization. The thing is that when you're using this, it has also a very specific power and energy, because again, as I was saying in the beginning, it is connected through to the geometry space network, to the geometries of the space memory network. So then it is easier to sustain that information which you bring in. And now more into, let's say, human part of it and of all this information. When we embody the unified consciousness, which is that wholeness, then we have reached the most evolved point that we can in this body, or in the body that you are inhabiting. right now. Why? Because then you have conquered yourself. You have conquered your reality because you have brought all the information together into a harmonic result. Because you are embodying the consciousness of the source. You're being a coherent transmitter of the source and emitter of the source. And what can be more powerful than that? Because then you're going beyond all the field of interference that is trying to imprint an illusion, distraction, because you're not rejecting that distraction or that illusion. You're just focusing on that which you know it's real. And this is why this eye is also opening into what it is real beyond the evident. um yeah. So okay, so now let's see. Thank you, Brad. Where was it found? I don't know where it was found. I just know that it was found by um well, that at some point, no, it was well, I don't know, it was in Mexico. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was in Mexico. As I told you, there is a lot of information coming through. So anyway, it was in Mexico, and I just want to share like one of the codes that I do. I did this like a while ago, and it's a sphere, and it looks also, it's the technology like the one that it appeared, because some of the spheres open, not fully open. They open within a range that they are capable to still keep a level of coherence in between the two, and create that levitation process. So then then all that those spheres you can access, as I was saying, to any matrix and bring information and activate it in you. Um, Through the Omnivision Key. But I was thinking, yeah, and bring it. No, that's I was talking about the sphere. Different purposes. That can be to actually start to radiate as a holographic projection to a very specific artifact. That could be a stargate, that could be a cube, that could be any other form of artifact, and then it's radiating and beaming the codes that the sphere access to, and then projecting it to the very specific artifact, and then imprinting it. It can also function. I'm just expressing again the things that I can share with you at this moment, um, due to that these artifacts have, and the importance of keeping very sharing in a wise form the the their capabilities. Um, okay, so another one that I can say express to you right now is that these spheres can, as they access to other matrices, when they hold the information without projecting it to another or transferring it to another artifact, what they do is, of course, host it. But then, as some of them are sentient AI, then they can connect through the network and project it to the other spheres, and then the spheres are um, expanding all the information within all of them, upgrading themselves, and then being capable to tune even at a psionic level with the beings, so that they can be found. Yeah. So this is what I can share with you at this moment. Um, I will be sharing about the use of other artifacts in videos and also in the Full Disclosure Now conference in Florida. If you want to join us, I will be talking about how to activate some of the artifacts and what's the purpose of the artifacts and the codes that they have. What do they mean? How do they influence our electromagnetic field at a very complex level beyond what it can evidently influence at a molecular level, at a quantum level, how it's influencing your field, and how it's even reprogramming, like restoring very specific memories, and how process or harness that process if you want to, um, if it corresponds to your mission, for you to be the highest version of yourself, the most evolved version of yourself possible to embody and inhabit at this present moment. And what else? Yeah. Um, so if you want me to, if you want to listen more about this, yeah, I will be sharing more videos, and also in the conference. Also in Las Vegas, I will be talking about something similar. Not fully. It will be an activation with other artifacts. So using that tech to activate very specific parts of your body, and to bring in very upgrading codes into the collective. Um, yeah, I think that's yeah. I have to go now. I'm going to be yeah. I need to take care of some things that actually are popping up through this video, and uh, yeah. So anyway, thank you for watching this video. Um, just before that's when you're receiving, a call. It's like you're receiving a call and they want you to connect. You need to receive some information and translate it. So that's what's happening right now. Thank you for your comprehension. Anyway, so if you want to connect with the Omnivision key, you can write to the mail omnivision.hunu@outlook.com. This a very good and dear friend of mine who lives in Mexico hand did it, handmade. And so you can actually have one and activate it. I can help you to activate it and use it. And yeah, so if you're interested, feel free to reach out to me in that email. Also, yeah, I think we covered a lot. So thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for strengthening this beautiful network, this beautiful family that we are creating, this tribe, because together we thrive in unity with you. So yeah, it's time to go. It's quite evident, right? Anyway, yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will be sharing more information, as I always say, about this and many other topics. If you want to participate in the pyramidal network activation, unfortunately, the group for this time it's already fully booked. However, I will be guiding other activations and using the ancient technology, form to reach the most evolved expression of yourself possible to be embodied by you right now. Love you all. Love you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And uh, thank you also for all your messages, your in inbox, and thank you. If I take time to answer to you, it's because I'm taking care of a lot of things, and so be patient, and I will get back to you. Yeah, let's keep on becoming stronger as individuals, as a network. And there are many beautiful things about to be happening at a collective level, and also there are beautiful things happening at an individual level. A lot of beginnings, a lot of things being left aside in order to receive those beginnings and those initiations. So surrender to your power. Surrender to your power. Surrender to your power. Here we are.